Hello again. This is my third day of using prescription CBD oil. I use Cannimed 1 to 20, and a friend of mine asked me in a private message yesterday what that means, and what it means is that there's 1 unit of THC to 20 units of CBD as explained by my pain specialist. And last night I took my 4th dose just before midnight, and again I'm getting started quite late this morning. It's after 11 o'clock came in time, and so that's around noon Eastern Standard Time. Another instruction on here is that I can increase by 0.5 milliliters twice daily based on the effect, and today is Friday, so I think I'm going to try to do that tomorrow on Saturday and see if that helps to further provide me noticeable benefits from the CBD oil. I talked about yesterday how I would go through my past medical history to give people greater insight into my own journey with chronic pain and give more insight into what I really haven't spoken publicly about. And I shared those reasons on the first day that I started taking CBD oil. I don't want to be remembered by my pain. I'm not a sympathy seeker, and it just doesn't help to focus on the pain. It doesn't help to focus on things that feel largely outside of your control. And for me, back in 2011, positive thinking and my faith, those are really the two critical things in my life that allowed me to start a journey of healing instead of just giving up, because those were my two options. Either I was going to give up and accept the pit of despair that I was feeling, or I was going to take the harder path, and it has definitely proven to be hard, and start a journey of healing. So tomorrow I think I'm going to share more of actual assessment of me that was done by Dr. Caroline Courtley. She's a PM&R, a rehabilitation doctor that is based out of Canada, but she is also a visiting doctor here. And she ended up doing, the first time I met her, she spent 6 hours of time assessing me, which is almost unheard of. I was talking to my pain specialist about medicine in the United States and the fact that doctors on average have 2 times the suicide rate of the national average. And I am in groups of physician moms, over 70,000 strong. I have a lot of connections with physicians, being a physician myself, despite being on disability. And people feel like they're working in assembly line medicine now in the United States. And I think about how much harm that does to a patient, because if you don't have adequate time to sit down and talk to your patient and listen to your patient, then your error rate is going to go up, your quality of care is going to go down, and the patient's going to end up suffering. And I've seen that in my personal journey. And being trained as a doctor and then experiencing being a patient has given me such invaluable insight that I can only hope will continue to serve a very good purpose in the future. Hopefully the lessons that I learned very painfully will help to minimize other people's pain down the line. So part of my long-term disability policy, which I took out as a hospital employee when I started my residency, they gave the option of taking out a long-term disability policy or disability and life insurance. And my dad died at the age of 53 of a massive stroke during my very first week of 3rd year medical school at my base hospital where I did clinical rotations. I was 28, turning 28 at the time. So I knew from experiencing that with my dad, after graduating medical school and starting my residency, I knew that, you know, life isn't a guarantee. I physically witnessed my dad pass away in a matter of 6 minutes. I'm sorry, not seconds, 6 minutes. And so I knew that life insurance was a no-brainer, but I didn't know about disability insurance because before medical school, I was an NASM and ACE certified personal trainer, and I was an APA group fitness instructor, so I was in really good shape. Working out was one of my major coping mechanisms after my dad passed away. And when you're working 80 hours a week as a medical student and as a resident, that was also a relief despite being exhausted. It was just a way to go and release stress for me. And that's actually part of what has been attributed to saving my life, was the fact that I was in such good physical shape at the time that semi-truck hit me at nearly 65 miles per hour. Although I know it was something a lot greater that saved me in those moments, because the state police officer even said that I should have been a fatality. And when they wheeled me into the ER, that's all I could keep saying was, I should be dead, I should be dead, I should be dead. So anyway, before my accident, when I started my residency, I asked my mom, you know, what should I do with these policies? And she said, take full benefits, full life insurance, full disability. And thankfully I listened to her, because although I didn't foresee myself ever being where I could identify with disability, I learned that nobody is invincible. And I think a lot of times people think that they are. It'll never happen to me. So I took out this long-term disability policy, never thinking that I would need it. It's a 17-year policy. And then I needed it. And you go through short-term disability first, and then you start the long-term disability. And I've had quite an experience with that. I am grateful for the policy, which really only equates to about $30,000 US a year. I should be making around $250,000 right now, so it's kind of a double slap in the face. But it's been so stressful. It has been, these companies harass people. You've already been traumatized. You already deal with chronic pain, and then on top of it, you deal with just a constant barrage in their attempt to discredit you and to stop paying your claim. And I have seen the issues that doctors have, because doctors are afraid of getting sued. Doctors do not feel qualified to fill out these forms. My former pain specialist, that was the biggest issue with him. He didn't feel qualified to fill out these forms. They are very in-depth. They're tricky. And there's a lot at stake. It's somebody's livelihood. It's putting food on the table and not being homeless, which my husband and I have experienced near homelessness because of my accident and uncontrollable events that affected our life. And, you know, some of the closest people to me have made comments that it's pathetic that I've had to ask for help financially. And yeah, I think it is too. I'm 36, turning 37 years old. I have a degree as a doctor. I have a degree in psychology. I put a lot of hard work in. I didn't take any time off after my dad died. I still continued to get excellent evaluations. Yeah, it's kind of pathetic, but this is my reality, and it's hard and it hurts, and it's kind of like being kicked when you're already down to hear stuff like that. I wouldn't wish it upon anybody else. This has been such a hard road traveled. And then I've briefly shared a little bit about the fact that I'm in this 180 days appeals process with this long-term disability policy. And a friend of mine, she was like, why aren't they paying you? So they initially stopped. They've done this before where they stopped my benefits when I was pregnant. It was right around the time I was, when we moved here back in 2012. It was around that time. But in the end of November of 2017, they stopped my benefits. Kind of them to do that before Christmas. But I've realized what really matters in life, and it's not materialism. And then they restarted them after the new year, and I shared how much of a blessing that was in an answered prayer. And one person on my Facebook was almost aggressive with me that, oh, aren't you lucky? And he has no understanding of everything that I've gone through in my life. But I don't know if it makes him feel satisfied. They ended up stopping my benefits again in February of 2018, and now it's almost July, and I have received no benefits. We've had to take out our IRA. We had to take out a loan from the credit union to put food on the table. Thankfully, my husband's in a doctorate program right now, and we have financial aid that is helping us for the time being. But it's a game that they play, and if you go and you type in Hartford disability problems, you will come to, I have a little bit written down so I don't forget this. I actually talked to this law firm before being recommended to my current disability attorney. It's Dell & Schaefer Law Firm, and you can go to their website, and it talks about the typical claim handling process before a claim is denied, and it's exactly what they put me through. First, they will send an investigator. Before we moved here in 2012, they sent an investigator to follow me. I had no idea this man was following me. Think about how vulnerable you feel when you deal with chronic pain. You are a female, and then you find out that this man is following you. He followed me to the grocery store. He was just steps behind me because I saw the surveillance, which is the second part of their game. I saw it at my former attorney's office. I sat down and we watched it, which just ended up proving that I was being honest. So it did not work in their favor, and my benefits ended up getting restated. He wrote in his report, tried to look through her blinds, but they were drawn. I remember feeling so violated in that moment. I talked to my therapist at the time, and he was like, oh yeah, it's like legalized stalking. Well, through everything that I've gone through with the William Strampel investigation, where I'm identified as quote-unquote victim 4, even though I don't identify myself as a victim. I don't carry a victim mindset. Okay, you can take that out of your hair. I talked to the Michigan State police officer who has been handling my case, and she said, no, Nicole, that is in fact very illegal, and it is such a violation to read that, and it makes you feel so unsafe. So anyway, saw the video footage, proved what I deal with, and then in 2017, I went through their IME, and they got a doctor here in Cannimed, and you can't really have an independent medical exam when they're being paid by an insurance company. That's the most ridiculous thing to me, especially when these people know. My former attorney told me, he's like, anybody who is an honest and independent medical examiner will not get repeat business. There's a reason for that. And then after that, I mean, you deal with continuous requests for medical paperwork, and I've done everything they've asked of me despite being in daily chronic pain, which is not an easy task in itself. Then they will, in addition, use your own doctor's assessments against you. They pick and choose what they want to put in the report and use it against you. I talked to my chiropractor, and I shared with her the report when they put me in this appeals process. And she shared that she hadn't seen me since a certain time in 2017 because my insurance benefits ran out for that particular treatment. I ended up then going to physical therapy to carry me through the year. But she also shared that she had seen me out in public and she could tell I was in pain. And do you think that Hartford put that into their assessment? Of course not. They don't want to put anything in there that's actually going to validate what you're going through, because they want to say that you don't have any of these issues. And it is infuriating to me. This is something that absolutely infuriates me. And before they cut my benefits, I read an article that talked about how the medical director of Aetna admitted that he does not even read patients' charts. Coming to speak with the attorney initially at Dell & Schaefer, I learned that Hartford and Aetna are now one and the same, because I said to my husband, I said, Dr. Courtley's report is so incredibly thorough. I don't know how anybody could deny me after reading her report, which she put an exceptional amount of time into. She also has an understanding of Ehlers-Danlos, which a lot of physicians do not. And then I read this, how this medical director admitted to not reading these doctor reports. I don't know how that can be legal. But then, talking to disability attorneys, I come to realize that there's really no adverse consequence to these companies. They're billion-dollar companies, and there's no major repercussion. So they get away with this, and it does a lot of harm, and it's not fair. It's not honest, and I'm done being quiet to it, because it's abusive, it's harassment, and it's just not okay. And stress does nothing good for chronic pain. I have done everything to try to minimize stress around me, including healthy boundaries and positive thinking and being faith-filled and, you know, removing stressors as much as possible, because I have 2 children that I need to be a mom to. And then you deal with this constant barrage of unnecessary stress because of a greed-filled company. It is just so incredibly sickening to me. So I think that's what I am going to share on today's video. I have my Cannimed, and I'm going to stick with the 0.5 milliliters, partly because they didn't have the entire dosage, the quantity that I was prescribed. So my prescription was written for no refills, but I only got half of what was prescribed to me. So I have got to go and get the other half, but it also comes down to whether or not they have the supply here in Grand Cayman, Cayman Islands. So that could be problematic for me. So I need to go to the store later today and make sure that it's being ordered, because it would be really frustrating to see positive benefits from this and then not be able to continue to have the relief. So, and so far I still deal with pain. I'll talk about my quality of pain tomorrow and explain more of what my pain entails. But I have noticed more motivation to go out at night, which normally I'd have absolutely no energy to do. And I do feel like, despite having interrupted sleep still, I feel like my quality of sleep is better. And this is only day 3 into using the Cannimed CBD oil. So that is promising to me. And I've also heard through my community page, Dr. Nicole M. Eastman, I've heard of some amazing effects from other people who have used Cannimed. One man, he had prostate cancer. As far as he knows, he's cancer-free now. Praise God. And another woman shared that she has had experienced tremendous improvement with arthritis, and she had another condition. I cannot remember off the top of my head what it was, but it's just so comforting to know that other people have received benefits from using medicine from a plant. That's amazing to me, and I think it's very unfortunate that people suffer. I was telling my husband that last night. I'm like, I could be angry right now that it's taken 7.5 years for this to be an option, or if it does give me the relief that I'm seeking, I can do everything in my power to help other people not have to suffer as long as I have, because suffering sucks. There's no other word for it. It just sucks. It wears on every single aspect of your life. Before my accident, I never could have imagined how much chronic pain would affect every single aspect of my life and how much it would wear on somebody's soul. So with that said, I'm going to take my next dose of CBD oil, and I have a chiropractor appointment later today, so that always gives me some temporary relief, and I'm going to share more about that later too. So